Like, मुझे अपने घर जाना है, मैं क्यों आया हूँ? मुझे जाना
I feel that often.
Hello?
Hi, Osamah.
Hey,
Good to have you on Candid Conversations.
happy to be here.
I hope the conversation is going to be really candid. As you said, it's with a K, so it has to be.
It's with a K, yeah. So anything with a K is like non-serious.
So let's start from the very beginning.
Okay.
Your early journey, how, and then following through on what you did through your life before you became a content creator.
So I would go back into like just about my childhood a bit.
Okay.
I'm with three siblings. I have two elder brothers. My mom's a doctor and my dad is in education.
Wow.
So the pressure was on us to do something more impactful. And these were the two options that were given to us. And I never saw life beyond that.
Okay.
Because we come from a family where, going into a business school was also unheard of, right?
You need a lot of money to start a
lot
business.
of money, and also while we were from Delhi community, so all of us and most of our people had established businesses, but not necessarily degrees to do that business, right? So going to any other unit of education was beyond us.
So what did you want to be?
A doctor.
Okay.
Because I used to, what our routine used to be like, so my mom would pick us up from school, city school, BCHS, and the clinic was just there.
Okay.
And she would attend a lot of these conferences, because they were always after school. So we just sit, chill, look at a lot of literature of medical, and she was in diabetes. So there was a lot of awareness programs used to happen on insulin and, lots of programs. We were there actually just for free lunch because my brothers and I would just like sit there and be like, okay, ho kya raha hai? But there was something being fed
Of course,
to us.
you absorb it nonetheless.
Absorb it, 100%. I mean, we knew too much about diabetes, like diabetes food ke baare mein hum pad rahe hain, too many things. But my mom was, of course, part of that training, so she would attend those quite often. And all three of us were like, yeah, we're good to be a doctor because my dad was in a very different unit of education and we were just there. So we didn't really have a lot of, I would say, since, of course, 90s kids, there are not a lot of options to preview per se.
Yeah.
So I had made up my mind and so did my siblings that we're all going to be doctors.
Who got that many doctors, right?
Yeah, so like everyone would be a doctor.
Okay.
But then things started to shift.
Okay.
My eldest brother, he did his O-levels in medical and then he's like, it sucks. So I don't know what we're doing. And we all were smart kids. Like we had like A grades in all these generic subjects like Pak Studies, Islamiyat, Urdu, which shows that we have some form of academic caliber.
Right.
But whenever we used to get more specialized grades, none of us got A grades.
Oh.
So, and it is throughout the family.
Right.
So my eldest got like straight C's. Like, cool. My other brother got straight B's. Like, cool. With an A in English. No, both of them got an A in English. Except for me. And I got also straight B's. And with no A in English. No.
Okay.
I was so bad at English.
Okay.
And other subjects. But I had straight A's in the other. I was like, what went wrong here? Like, we don't understand. But my eldest brother somehow got some, I don't know, he did something which was, we found it. He still decided to go towards medical.
Okay.
तो उसने इंटर कर लिया.
अच्छा.
And he's like, इंटर में बच्चों की ज़्यादा opportunities होती हैं, chances होते हैं, so why not? So he hated that part too because it's a big shift when you move from one certain curriculum to a very different curriculum, and it's not easy to adjust. During that period, someone told him about IBA grads, and they're like, IBA is a university. Like, very interesting. And it's so funny, like, these things should have been taught to us back in O-levels.
Right.
They were
About
city school.
about the opportunities.
About the opportunities, like what are we gonna do? It's not just because there were just three areas of subjects you could choose, right? Medicine choose kar liya, engineering choose kar liya, computer choose kar liya. That's it. That's life for you. So he switched to
Inter.
enter. Then he found a space which teaches and trains you in IBA grads. And then he got into IBA, and then he started to share light with us like life is different. Life is good here. You know, there are people who you actually like to interact with, and there are so many opportunities beyond that we knew because he started to BBA, and we were like, "What is BBA?" You know, because we had no idea that this all goes on. So other brothers followed the same pattern, and I followed the same pattern.
So all of you got into IBA?
No, we did not. All of us got into different universities.
Okay.
And not by, like, my eldest got into IBA, and then my other brother applied for IBA and CBM. He was supposed to be the smartest one, but he only got into CBM. I applied to all three, I only got into Savist.
Okay.
So by no choice, all of us were accepted into just one university. But for me, that shift was very crucial. And I think it took a toll on me because I'd always been academically the smartest kid out of all the brothers. And I thought, okay, Indo bhai rehne ki, I'll be a doctor. You know, because my mom wanted someone to be the doctor in this space. She was always like, पता होना चाहिए गुर्दे क्या होते हैं और इधर दवाइयाँ क्या होती हैं. Because we could see all our time, our PTSCL phone would not stop ringing because she would always be guiding people कि क्या दवाई लेनी है, right? It's a time when there is not much internet. You're just, even for Panadol, you need someone's help. So my mom had been doing this service. So we're like, well, how much demand is there for this particular profession?
Right.
So for me, I was very focused. I was studying throughout my teenage years. And I think I was also robbed from my teenage bit because I was not into any other sports. I was not into any co-curricular activities because I was like, I have to focus on my education. It was very tough because I saw my brothers failing to come to that certain point, and I thought scholarship would be very good for this entire aspect. I didn't want to switch to inter either. So, but it did not work out. And I got B's. I was devastated. I think I also cried. I did cry because I thought my life's over.
Yeah.
It happened. It happened because I was like, what am I if not because of my academics? You know, that was more about identity. Because if I'm not the smart one, then who am I? And then I decided to switch to commerce. I felt useless. But then I loved economics. This is such a great subject.
Yeah, why didn't I explore it before?
Yeah. And I was like, and it happens to be the third toughest subject in A levels or second. I got an A.
Wow.
I was like, and
how did this happen?
My classmates were like crying, and they had economics in their O levels too. So for them, it was easier. For me, it was the first time being introduced to that subject. And they all were like, how did you get an A? And I think, how did I get an A if it's supposed to be that tough? But it was the love of the subject that led me to truly understand that there's a universe outside. So then one thing that I like to change about me, that I won't let academics define
who you are,
who I am, and what future looks like.
Okay.
With that A, I also had a D and an E.
In what?
In math and in GP, which is the most useless thing that is there. But that D and E, they have got no impact. I just want my family to have AI in economics. I was like, I'm gonna change my subjects and go through. This time I was like, I will keep changing my path, and I will not let academics or any other thing being a hurdle. I truly started to get into debating and MUNs. I was like, because I had no other skill. I couldn't speak at all. I was
so hard to believe now.
Exactly. When I look at myself in the camera, I'm like, who is this guy? You know, if I look at my younger self, I'm like, I can't imagine this is what I do today. So I switched around. I wasn't too sad about not getting into IBA either. I was like, something will happen at Savvis. And something did happen at Savvis. So when I was there, I was hating the BBA curriculum. I was like, ito sirf wohi numbers aa gaye dobara. So then I realized I loved economics. Why not switch into economics? And back then, social sciences was that program was only being offered by Savvis.
Okay.
And IB introduced it a year later. So the faculty was great. The people were great. So I was like, I want to do something economics. I don't know what career it will be, but I don't want to be miserable for 4 years studying something that I don't know what my future would be. I was like, I'm just going to do it. My dad had always been like, "Jo beta sani so jaye wo kar."
ठीक है, very
He's
good.
he's like, whatever. My mom's like, mm-hmm. My brothers were also like, I didn't know. I just took that decision of it because BBA, imagine, was unheard of. Social sciences, so we were like, my brothers are, you're gonna be like washing dishes or something because there's not much to do with that. Right? No visibility whatsoever. I was like, I will do something. Just let me study this. There was not a lot of pressure, but it was just a conversation that happened. So now I am in social sciences, and I think that's where life truly changed.
Okay.
I was sitting with kids who also came here voluntarily before I even knew of it, and there were no exams, very few exams. It was just discussions. It was just change of mind, perception. It was, I think that was the time when I was like, this is what education looks like. Great faculty. Um, and we used to just talk. And while I could see my peers in VBA, they were more focused on, you know, how do they dress for a presentation. I spent my entire 4 years in flip flops.
Okay.
Which I thought maybe I'm not being groomed enough for being into corporate, but more value was being given. What am I saying? How am I saying? And how am I thinking about these things? Because we were given so many lenses to think of. हम sociology पढ़ रहे हैं, psychology पढ़ रहे हैं. We had Shima Karmani as our teacher.
Oh.
We were dancing for our grades. It was the funniest thing.
It wouldn't have been funny for me. I have two left feet, so.
No, but I was like, what are we doing here? Like, all of us were like in shock. We're like, हम ये कर क्या रहे हैं? हम नाच रहे हैं भी. But honestly, during that time, because we had so much good idle space in my head, I was not pressured into exams and stuff. And this is a time when cafe culture was starting.
Right.
This is, imagine Butler's new.
Right.
Sanders new. New.
Wow. Yeah.
And at Zappis, my schedule used to be like 8 to 11, I have a class. And 11 to 3, there was a break.
Oh, wow.
And 3 to 6, I have another class. And I live on the other side of the bridge, so I don't really
want to go back and forth.
I can't do it. It's not economically viable, time viable. So what do we do? And Zappis is small. So there's nothing to do. So I decided to go out with a friend. I'm like, hey, let's just,
check out the food.
And, kill some time.
Right.
And that's when I started to put a lot of food content on my own personal page. But then someone said, and I had to realize, like, someone like posting so much food, why don't you just create a food page? Yeah, why not? But I was like, but there was like a big decision for me. I was like, okay, but why don't people listen to me? And I'm just eating to kill time. But then I realized there was a lot of interest of like, okay, ye kaisa khaya, kitne ka tha. So I was like, let's make it simple because there was a food group very popular back then. And I was like, maybe I could just give, and they were like such detailed, nobody has the time to read all that. They were just like rating this out of this, whatever I could write in my poor English. And I was like, that's what I started to post about. And I did it as a hobby. But in 1 year, I remember, so I went for an internship to Indonesia.
Okay. This was with Isaac, right?
Isaac in 2014.
Yeah.
And I suddenly started getting a lot of followers, and we were living in a remote village where there was no. I was like, why am I getting followers? Have I used a new hashtag or something and then and someone sent me an article that you've been featured in Dawn as top 20 creators to follow. And
did you know what a creator was?
No,
at that time?
Instagrammer was the word I would say.
Okay.
And if I scroll down, and that article still exists.
Okay.
So if I scroll down, I'm at the end, and there are like other people like Dapu Javedi, known for his photography, and that is just me. Like, what am I doing? And it's my own pictures and stuff. I was doing it, and I was like, this is very interesting. So I continued with that. But the fact that I was not known for many years because I was doing it in our industry. I was doing it under the label of Karachi Food Guide.
Okay.
Because I think anonymity gave me more autonomy to say what I want to say. Plus, people would not judge me कि इसको क्या पता है. They're just happy. So it was good. And I also felt like I wasn't confident enough to be on camera or something along those lines. And that blog actually led me to finding love for advertising.
Okay.
So, like I was like, what am I going to do? Just wing it. So my family was like, I don't know, somewhere your life is going. Literally, my mom used to tell me, Mondays ko main class nahi thi. I'll be the only one home sleeping on a Monday. My whole house would be empty. My mom was like, what kind of university is this where you are sleeping on Monday? But it gave me so much creative freedom that I mean, imagine this is 2030. Nobody knows what they're doing, and I'm just taking pictures and making a difference. And then what happened? I graduated now. Like, what do I do? I failed all the MT tests, all these big FMCGs coming in because it was math. I'm like, what do they need? Why is math part of every part of your your capability? Math भी हो रही है फिर वो कोई strategy वो there's some whatever test those were. I was flunking throughout. There I had one actual great lead. I led to like stage 4 of it, but suddenly there was a problem with the recruitment. It was a big pharma company. And I was like, oh, finally, maybe I could do this because I was attending all the pharma sessions and stuff. So I was like, okay, maybe this is my calling. It didn't work out. So, and I didn't even do internship because that was not important to do. So I'm just sitting. But then I was just surfing on Facebook and I found a post which said, looking for an intern for a top advertising agency can lead to a full-time job. And there was an email address and something along those lines. This is 2016. So it's only been a month since my graduation. I just applied. And I got an email. And I had no idea what this place is. Because previously I was giving interviews at newspapers and I looked at their office. I'm like, what is this place? Is that
they're grand.
Down? Yeah. They're coming down. And then they were very bad interviews. I was like, even if they take me and I was very needy, I was like, I'm still gonna say no. But I can't work here where the environment is not the creative mind that requires it to be. So now I step into this office. It's called AdCom. And I looked at their office and like, oh, this is where I really, really need to be. I stepped in and I see there are 30 to 40 more people interviewing for that same internship.
Oh, wow.
I'm like, I don't even know what they do.
Yeah.
And the funny thing was, there was a signature and it said Raymond. I thought this was a company name. And I was searching online, what is this Raymond? There was nothing on the internet about that. And I just went in. I was like, it's nearby. I should just go there and see it's just an internship. How hard could it be? But when I went there, I was like, this is pretty tough and it's a big deal because the office looks great. I saw someone stepping out. It happened to be my batchmate, and I was like, yeah, what did they do here? They're like, very social media content and, love that. Like, interesting. I have zero understanding of how the model works, but I've been making content. So I just stepped inside the room. It happened to be my birthday. I was like, okay, I can do two things. Doing it on my personality, which had shaped up in this style. And I will probably show them that what they're asking me to do, I've been already doing it for several years now.
Right.
Step into these two people and they're like, okay, what brings you here? Like, who studied economics? And I was like, does degree really matter? I questioned them. They're like, ooh, okay. Some fiery responses, made them laugh, showed them my blog. It went to be a fantastic conversation. They're like, okay, it will take us 2 days to get back.
Okay.
So I was I think 2 days would be I couldn't survive 2 days to know because I was finally looking at a good company, at a great company actually, with such a great office and the kind of people I would like to work with non-experienced professional one. I slept through and then I woke up in the next 2 hours. I had a call from this PT cell.
Wow, not 2 days?
No, not 2 days. And the guy who called me was called Raymond. So I was like, hey, this is Raymond. And I was like, oh yeah, that's like, we really want you to start an internship with us. I'm like, amazing, fantastic. It was 6,000 rupees, but I found my calling. I used to work for L'Oreal. So my internship quickly led to full-time job. And then I was handling the entire L'Oreal account, and then that somehow became my professional life.
Profession. Right.
That's the beginning and the origin of it.
6,000 seems very little. But as long as you had that opportunity to step into
Yeah.
what then became your profession, it was worth it.
I-
Even if they didn't pay you, I think it was worth it.
100%. I do feel like, of course, there should be no culture of unpaid
No.
internship.
Because you spend money getting there and
Yeah.
getting back.
But I think back then, because you see, like my entire journey had been so confusing.
Yeah.
कुछ नहीं पता क्या हो रहा है, सोशल साइंसेस भी चले गए, मेडिकल भी पढ़ लिया, कॉमर्स भी पढ़ लिया, बीबीए से शिफ्ट हो गए. So turning my hobby and then finding a job in that just felt unbelievable. I haven't even thought over it until now in this conversation that this is what really happened.
So how long were you there with that?
For a year.
For a year.
For a year, because then I was like, why am I doing this? I was like, this is so much work. Because it was non-stop, and although I was learning a lot, but then I was like, what if there is something out there for me which I haven't
Explored yet.
Yeah. So what will I do? And what if I'm too much into this corporate space, and then I forget that they could have me something else for me.
Right.
So I did complete other flip. I became a career counselor. My best friend was leaving for job. She's
Right.
like, I think Osamah would be a good fit. I was like, yeah, I think so. I was at sales.
Confuse other people as much as you've
Yeah.
been confused
And
yourself.
the difference between the kids and myself were like 4 or 5 years.
Okay.
I was so intimidated. I was like, these kids are gonna teach me. And they were just like teen romance and boyfriend issues. There was no interest in career counseling. And I had a corner office though.
Right.
I had a corner office. I had help all the time. I could child. All I had to do was clock in at 7, leave at 3. This is an easy job. Pays me better. But 1 month in it, I'm like, what the hell is happening? This is too easy. I have nothing to do with my life. I want that stress back. I want that thrill back. So I went back to advertising, but then took another pay cut. So I was earning 35,000 in my first job. The school job paid me 55. I was like, fantastic. I had all the money in the world. Back then, I didn't have responsibilities at all, so all the money was mine. But then when I was like, I'm going back to advertising, they're like, oh, you are a career counselor. Why are you here? I'm like, oh my God, this conversation is, it was just for a month. Yeah. But then I ended up going to this really great advertising. It's called Malinlo, who's a Boston-based agency, and they have Unilever's account. So I was just put through that. And there I realized the love for creative, because at Adcom I was doing a lot of things, but at Malin it was just a lot of thought on stories.
Right.
And building a creative concept, because it was purely a creative agency.
Okay.
There's nothing more to it. And so we would write jingles and we would mess around and, do a lot of fun stuff. And I was like, this is the true corporate life. And then my manager, who I thought we were having a great bond, a month later, she's like, Osamah, I found a good job. So you're not ill. And then what's next for me? They're like, what do you want to do? I was like, I probably want to study abroad because now I know this is what I want to do. Maybe get a degree in it.
Right.
And get in London. But I want to go outside Pakistan and live and see what's out there. So then she says, she's like, where are you thinking of? I was like, I'm thinking Germany. She's like, go to Germany.
A lot of people have heard.
Yeah, so Germany's a great place. She's like, why don't you think Budapest? I'm like, what would I do in Budapest? I've never heard of Hungary being. She's like, no, some of my friends are there doing fantastic, yada, yada, yada.
And especially in the creative area.
In the creative area, 100%. So then this seed was planted where I want to be in Budapest now. I looked at the finances. I was like, this is much, much cheaper than I would have to spend anywhere else in Europe. It's Schengen. So then my mind started to work towards getting out of Pakistan for good. It was not just a massive. I was like, this is the life I've spent. It doesn't get better. Let's just go out and explore the world. First attempt, I did not get in. Visa rejection. It was took another toll on me because you have to fly to Islamabad.
Yeah.
And I had to, of course, keep telling my company, oh, I have to. I had a very important meeting, I remember. I said, oh, I have to. I'm not in town for an emergency, You can't tell plans when it's not happening. So, you have this kind of fear. So, but they rejected me, so I didn't get into the marketing program. But I was so determined to get out. So I was like, whatever program they give me, I'm just going to take it.
Okay.
Academics haven't really made much difference. So I got again in the February intake.
Okay.
Which wasn't ideal, but then I saw why this was so good for me to get into February. There was this, the minute I stepped in, you can, get internship and stuff. So I got into, in my next month only, I got into a crypto space.
Oh.
It was called Bitcoin.com. It's the biggest domain for Bitcoins. And I was given an internship opportunity there, like 4, 5 rounds. And that job of an internship led to a full-time job as well. And I did not get any other opportunity. So for me, it was so ideal because I was able to be independent. I told my family, I'm going to come when I want to. I don't need your money. Which I did though, because it was difficult to pay your rents a little bit. But then I was able to at least travel around Europe throughout this time and truly understand that how incapable I am of surviving on my own. And that was such a big realization because I was a very different person before this trip. I would say, all this kindness and being selfless wasn't part of my personality at all. It was the opposite. But I remember so my university was very far from where I used to live. So we had to take a train, take a bus, take 10 minutes walk. Finally, you get to make it because it was on the outskirts and I was living in the city center. And I would, usually eat like ramen noodles or do a pizza takeaway. And sometimes if I get late, 9 p.m., the pizza shop also closes.
Oh,
so I'm just like eating plain toast or something. It was hard. And of course, you have to be on a certain budget too.
Yeah.
I had these friends, flatmates, who would just look at me and they're like, one day they were like, why do you eat this? And it's not good. I don't have time because I was working in the morning and then I was studying at night. That was the entire structure. So they said, you know what, we cook every day. How about we just cook for you also? Take extra portion. And I was over the moon. Because I was like, these guys, we have nothing in common. We come from
Where were they from?
France.
Okay.
They were 2 boys on their Erasmus program. I was like, I have nothing in common with them. We have always greeted each other, but there was this so much, I would say, it flipped that how much I needed this. And they just came through and showed some form of what kindness looks like. And I would come home someday, they're like, hey, we're cooking these capsicum with something. And they were not as great, but it was
something.
Food.
Yeah.
It wasn't noodles, it wasn't pizza, it was something cooked.
Right.
And I would come home to a warm meal and I'd be like, thank you, And of course, then when I got a chance to cook, I would cook for them. But then I realized, there is a lot more that one can do if you just become a nicer kind of person. Because there I needed so much help and support from so many individuals that second day my phone broke.
Oh.
Then there were people who just helped me throughout this process. And my family cannot do anything now.
They took
Because I
that
took
away.
my dad's car and that got blocked the second day. Nobody comes to Budapest to visit. So survival was just about realizing and relying actually on these strangers who come from different parts of the world. And not even asking for it, but for them to just come through. And that 2 years truly changed me as a human being and as an individual, I would say. But then COVID happened.
Right.
That dream chapter was just ended. I got terribly sick.
Oh.
It wasn't COVID when I got it. It was something. Because I was in Denmark and I came back and I couldn't really move. But then the plan changed and I was like, how about I move to Canada now? You know, Canada is offering everybody PR immigration. How about I just, go to Canada now? Because everything seemed great outside Pakistan,
Right.
right? And I think there is some beauty in living alone and able to do fun stuff. But I think our reality of Pakistan is also our city. Things are much different
In other
outside this
parts of
province.
yeah. Right.
So so the plan then became I'm gonna move back and I'm going to um
Apply for Canada.
save up money and apply for Canada, right? So I went back to my second agency that I was working for until I found like a real proper job because I really loved working for that tech startup. So I was like, I want to be in the tech space. So I ended up going to Baba Cars. I had a fantastic time there, 2 years. I learned so much. Like I couldn't even believe the kind of things I was able to do at an entry level position because the responsibilities kept growing and I learned 10 years of work and things were looking great. I had applied for my PR, it was all done, but the draws had stopped in Canada because of COVID. And then the company also shut down. They're like, okay.
I remember that. Yeah.
So then that's where I had a different awakening. I woke up. I'm like, I've been working 8 years in corporate. Now I don't have a job. So who am I? I was again lost. Because you become what you do, and that's how you start telling people. So when I was jobless, it was so sudden. I was like, okay, job will come through, but in this time period, what am I doing with life? Or is my job the only thing I am all about in my life? And I called up my friend. I was like, buddy, I need to get inspired. And I need a book, maybe a nice meal, and let's just do this. And this is June 2022.
Okay.
I We had a great meet at Evergreen, and then I said, let's go to Liberty Books. It's about to close down. So I stepped inside Liberty Books, and I'm looking for a book, and the store's about to shut down, but this guy walks in, and 2 3 minutes later, he comes up to me and he says, "Are you Osamah?"
Wow. Okay.
And I have not been too active on social media. I've been there, but I wasn't too active. And he said to me, "You've changed my life."
Oh wow.
And I look at him in complete disbelief, like, how can I change your life? Because I do food reviews. At least I used to. He's like, no, my wife and I have saved everything from your page. We've been saving, we live in Lahore, and we always thought like, जब भी हम कराची आएंगे, we'll try everything from this page. And during this time, his wife passed away. And he said, I was so miserable and depressed. But then I realized that I can still live my wife's memory through your page. So he came to Karachi with his 5-year-old son on a plane, started to try all the restaurants that his wife had saved from my file to make new memories in her spirit. He's like, I would have gone anywhere. I could have gone to Gujarat, I have family there. I could have gone to Islamabad, but I'm here for this. But now Karachi has given me this idea of starting my own business here. And I've started my new life and
It's all thanks to you.
and that's why you've changed my life. And I looked at my friend, I'm like, do I still need a book? Because I was making content. That's how I started my journey. And it gives me goosebumps every time I think about this incident because it came at a point where I was the lowest. And I think it's divine intervention because I never saw that individual again. He told me he left. I sat in the car with my friend. I said, if I could change someone's life without even putting an intention, it was food reviews. It became a calling for someone who had to go through something so devastating. Imagine if I start putting intention. And I got so much courage. I was like, I've never made a video with myself. I'm going to put up a reel. And at that time, reel had not been introduced.
Yes, it's now very, very common, but at that time,
It was just, reels were being introduced, but it had not come in Pakistan. So algorithms were really, really supporting that. So I had time. I had this huge boost of inspiration. I was like, I will do whatever. I don't care if people were to, because I was a bit, I would say, concerned about, because I had always had these big lips and I thought like maybe I wouldn't, I was always called out for it at a point. But then, there were some insecurities that were popping up. I was like, maybe people might see me as like a gray hair. I don't speak typically in the more Karachi way. So, putting up yourself on camera has always, it comes with so many things. But I was like, nothing matters now. I have
I
found
have to try.
calling.
Yeah.
Made up my first video. It got 100,000 views. And I
Wow.
was like, what's going
Good
on?
start.
And then what's going on? I can't hold these numbers.
And what was it about? That
Biryani.
first?
I was a foodie.
Of course.
Let's do biryani.
Yeah.
Then I put up my second video. It got 500,000 views. And I was like, let's do a biryani series now. It's working. Something's shifting. Something's changing. By the time I put up my third, I had 1 million views and I was being recognized all on streets. I'm like, this is insane.
Yeah.
I never thought someone with such little following could have such impact. And suddenly there was a lot of interest in my profile and I do not know what I was doing. I was just doing something. And again, I was in this path. So I did find a job because I still did not take this entire thing as full time because I loved being in the tech space and something that I wanted to try was being in fintech. So I joined Paymap.
Which is where we met.
Which is where we met.
Right.
So Paymap was another fantastic opportunity. I had that because I had learned so much at Baba, so it was much easier for me to do a very defined, specific content role and handle my read stuff too. And 2 years to now I finally quit my job. It's only been a few months to pursue content creation and other ventures as usual.
Okay. So quite a journey. Quite a journey.
Yeah.
But tell me, as you were going through these multiple parts of your journey, trying different things, did you ever run into, other than that gentleman that you mentioned, a fan who you just can't get out of your head? Someone who sort of appreciated some of the work that you're doing or talked about what impact they had that you had had on their lives? Anybody specific? Anything?
I think beyond that, it became more of a common occurrence, but then there was a lot of families would come to me and say that because if you were able to decide what we want to do as a family next.
Oh.
And someone specifically came to me and said that there was this place I reviewed called Mazi. It was a coffee shop in North Hyderabad. It was built on a backyard, someone's backyard. And the guy was a videographer. He was filming for someone else, but he came up to me and he said to me that, my mom is a big lover of open spaces. And I think, remember that dad was not in the picture. So he said he found that place to be so serene and peaceful that when you put about it, we were the first one to get there. And now we spend so much quality time. And
because such places didn't exist at that time, not many anyway.
No.
Now there's so many coffee shops that you have.
But different kind of.
Different. But some open air ones.
Yeah. So I feel like in those ways, I truly feel like I become more of a connector.
Right.
Of a space, of a story, for individuals, and somehow I'm also the picture, allowing all these units to connect. And I don't know, maybe there are countless other things that happen. Uh, because when I go, I'm traveling in the most remotest area, someone recognizes me and I get so shocked. I was like in Positano in Italy, and this lady comes up and she's like, "Thank you, we were touring Karachi through you."
Oh, wow.
I was like, I didn't even know there would be someone who would know me here, right?
And she was Italian?
No, she was Pakistan.
She was Pakistan.
But you're American visiting Karachi during vacations, and we just bumped in for Sati. Sati. So like I think those interactions are more for me what I could be proud of.
Okay, you talk a lot about Karachi and things, whether it's the infrastructure, the food, the people. Do you think Karachiites have that feeling of ownership for Karachi as a city? Do you think there could be things we could be doing to appreciate our city more?
I think in a city which is ranked as third world most unlivable city, um, and where things are already too complicated or challenging for a normal citizen, what more do we want them to do? I think survival here is the biggest ask anyway. We've just gone through this rain turmoil,
Yeah.
right?
Mm.
I had so many people DMing me that they were walking 7 hours, 8 hours.
Yeah.
It's not normal to.
I was in a car for 4 hours with water inside the car, covering my legs. I thought
And we're laughing about it today because we're like,
because we
we
survived.
survived. But it's not, we have made such historically tragic and events, traumatizing ones, into jokes because when that night I was so into my phone, I was being flooded with DMs and I was calling out institutions who did not do right by students, even private corporations. And then I was like, I don't know if it's going to make a difference, but then a lot of restaurants who had shut down their doors had opened up the next day, right? And I didn't want to be any vigilante sort of. I was like, it's just awakening that we are in this fight by ourselves, right? It's people who we are supporting. So many girls, followers, they opened up their own home doors.
Yeah.
In Kurangi, in PCHS, and then I got messages that thank we found some shelter that night. So that ownership has to come through when it's two ways, right? We have the state, we have our space, and they have people living in it. There's no accountability of the taxation that we go through. And I don't know what, I have zero visibility because I've stopped thinking about it.
Yeah.
And now I know that Karachi for me, and for me to make that decision that, hey, now I want to stick around in this country and in the city that I live in. And it was a very difficult one because I had dreamt a life everywhere else. Except here. But because of a purpose I found, and now more and more, like just the fact that with my OA levels trauma that every year I try to speak about it greater.
Okay.
And I'm like, it's not gonna resonate, but it does because we are still in that phase where students are so lost. We still
Some even commit suicide. It's
100%. I was
so
getting such
tragic.
text.
Yeah.
I was like, I don't know what to do around these texts because I was like, just check up on your friends. Because I have seen cases where things have gone really bad for people have developed psychological issues.
Yeah.
And I don't think it gets truly reported in Pakistan because it's usually
they try to hide it. Yeah.
But in India, we do get to hear about these things more often. But I think here, the reason I then stuck around, I was like, it's a purpose I found that for me, I have no one to look up to in this country.
Right.
No individuals. And I was like, how about I become that individual? And I push through things, do things sincerely, do things with an open heart, with a good heart. Never ask anything in return. And I've always built my entire purpose of this quarter had always been that particular incident that happened.
Yeah.
Right. Of course, there could be mistakes that could be made in between.
Yeah.
But I think one person could lead to some change, and then that some change could lead to a tenfold change. And I think that's the ownership I take of helping people to navigate through this time. Because that ownership is something that only come when they see a visible change from the other side as well, which we have not seen so far.
Yeah. And they just, I think people get away with saying, oh, Karachi, the people of Karachi are resilient and they don't need help from anyone else. It's so annoying.
I think we have become resilient though.
No, but why should that
But that should not
be? I mean, we pay our taxes. Sure, we're resilient, but the state has the responsibility and they should live by that responsibility and not say, oh, you're paying so many taxes, you're helping the rest of the country economically, and yet we leave you alone when there are floods or rains or, any kind of challenges.
Every day I pass through this road and my head bumps on the side. And it happens every day. You can't avoid it. And I wear my headphones big enough to cancel all the noise, but then it hurts even more. But then I was like, this is the.
You have to survive.
I have survived this. So, we've all built our own containers. And I remember back in social sciences, we used to discuss this. We had this professor called Bilal Zubaidi. He was such an evolved individual. He's like, we will be traveling in such small circles and units in few years to come. And that's exactly what it is. We're not roaming around on the streets. I know after this podcast, there's X location I need to be there. That there's nothing in between. I can't stop in between to roam around, chill at a park. What is chilling at a park? Or roaming around. These are things
not in the city. Yeah.
And I think when you go abroad and you start walking and you just realize, we travel to walk. And that's,
I used to say that to people here that, they said, what is the best thing you look forward to when you travel overseas? I said, the ability to walk, to sit down in a park, to, just look around, appreciate what's happening around you. And here, all you do is get into a car or any kind of vehicle and get to the next place.
Next to the next place, you get out, you meet, interact, you come back.
And you meet to eat or you meet to attend an event. There is no, let's just hang out.
And the most, I think, how it has affected, especially people who are born in mid-90s like myself. We don't have any childhood friends here. All my friends are abroad. So there's also a big loss of not just this brain drain at a larger level, but at a personal level, people actively trying to get out of this place has resulted in me looking for newer friends or of course having a more damaged social life because meet someone great 2 days later,
and you have no history with them.
No history, right? And then you are back to that social online life. So I think that had been a very difficult part because it's at a personal level, these things really will have an impact.
As a content creator, are there any challenges that you faced? Criticism that you might have had? Also, when you were doing the food blogging, you faced some health issues.
Yeah.
Can we talk about that? If you don't want to, we can leave it out. But, those are some things that you have gone through and yet survived it and moved on.
No, I would like to talk about the health issue because even today, I'm asked, how are you doing? And I'm completely, alhamdulillah, perfect.
Okay.
There are still some repercussions that I live through, but it's more appalling. So while I was high on numbers, as I was speaking of, I was like, street food is the life. It's something so unexplored. I've never had it myself. That was the exciting bit of it because I've been reviewing cafes since 2013. I was tired of trying out mid-level, high-level restaurants. This was a new gastronomical adventure. And during that time, I think I had a bug which turned into more and more lethal in the sense that I became weak. I lost appetite. I had severe heartburn acidity issues. And I went to doctors and they would just give me some form of antibiotics and then I would feel great in 2 weeks, but then I would relapse again. And this continued for like 7 months. I was one of the top doctors and my mom's a doctor too. I was like, she's like, oh, because तुम ये खाते हो ना इस वजह से. So there was no diagnosis.
Right.
Until I started to see more severe symptoms, which included bleeding.
Oh, wow.
I'm like, this is
not right.
And nobody was in this. I was actively going through web remedies and stuff like what symptoms I should be looking because I thought it could be anything
Yeah,
at this
of course.
time, right?
And you fear the worst usually.
You fear the worst, and I'm glad that I did because doctors were not giving me 2 cents on this issue because I was getting weaker and lethargic, and I was like, I've never felt this low in my life. And I had so much gut issues, stomach issues happening at the same time. So I was just going to my gastro. And when I told him I'm seeing severe more symptoms, and that's when he started to panic. He's like, let's schedule you for endoscopy and colonoscopy. This is something that people get in their 50s. I was getting in my 20s.
Right.
It was so painful to the prep of it.
Yeah, that's bad enough.
Is
I know.
That's the difficult part.
Yeah.
You know, I cannot unlive that night. You know, that potion that you have to drink, I couldn't stop. But then you just back and forth to the loop. Uh, 8 to 12 hours of that. And then you go through just getting yourself inspected. And we found that I had ulcers all over my gut. Like 90% of my gut had ulcers. And the first thing when I woke up, I asked my doctor, is it cancer?
Yeah. Because that's the word that
That's
everyone
the word,
fears.
right?
Yeah.
But the reason I had in my thought because there was a young couple who went before me and he was diagnosed or had this cancer. So he was just getting it checked. So that's the last thing I heard. So I woke up with that same feeling. He said no, but you will go through biopsy. It will take 10 to 12 days. And here are more antibiotics for you. Until then. And of course, I was banned to eat outside. I was banned to basically do anything. It was just like bemar ka khana and it was recovery for that. So when I got my diagnosis of I had 2 infections. One was, which were very common by the way, but it can turn to severity if not treated at the right time. And I could have been treated way before for me to be in that space. It was amybiasis, which was inflammation in my stomach, which was mild, but it was still causing disruption. And the ulcers were because of H. pylori.
Oh.
So H. pylori can turn into ulcers, and then ulcers is like I would say, one step before it becomes into any other form. So it was stages of H. pylori, right? And it's such a, I would say, sticky virus that it becomes dormant. So you have to have like triple antibacterial process to kill it. And then you have to also have antac acids and, have a very clean diet to make sure that it completely goes away.
Yeah.
But killing it was the easier bit, but I had so much antibiotics throughout this time. I had no probiotics, no energy. So I had to recover through better diet decisions. And that's when I decided to pivot into something else because I was like, what? Because again, there was a part where I was lost. I was like, content was working for me. I found a
food content.
Food content was working.
But now I can't.
Now I can't do it. So, and I always take the bite. I can never promote anything if I haven't tasted.
Of course.
And while I was sick too, I still remember I was seeing my old posts, which are archived. I was eating, tasting, and then spitting it out. And when I was looking at myself, I was like, I was rejecting. This is not. I was at that time, so I archived all those videos because I was like, this is not something I'm good to promote that. So then what happened is I was at a podcast with Mudammil Hassan.
Okay.
In Islamabad. And I was having this conversation and I told him about this, my very infamous Indian incident, which is a different story that takes an hour to tell.
Okay,
If I
no,
could
we,
tell the
we,
right
we
way.
will have a
Another
podcast
session on that. And and the conversation ended. He said to me, Osama, you are doing food, but there's a storyteller inside you. You should explore that.
Wow.
I just took it as a thought, didn't really think about it.
Yeah.
But then when I was in this position of not being able to make content on food, I was like, maybe I should tell something which is something that I've heard of.
Right.
So in this time, I had already made public about my health concern. What really helped me was people flooding my inbox and letting me know that this is the time when I'm about to receive my biopsy. So different kind of more extreme cases and how they have overcome. So it gave me so much strength.
Yeah, that can be so helpful.
Regardless of whatever this is,
Yeah,
I will
overcome it. Yeah. And that's why I wanted to talk to you about this, because a lot of people, a lot of us, don't take care of what we eat, when we eat, how much we eat, what kind of infections we could be carrying around, and we just don't care until it gets to a position where it becomes really serious. So that's why I think it's important to discuss it.
Yeah.
And thank you for sharing that. It's amazing that you came through it and are continuing to lead a happy life. So content creation, there's so much content that you've created. Many people have loved what you write, what you talk about. But there have been some people who've been critical.
Mm.
How do you handle that kind of criticism?
So my platform had always been about positive outcome and positive spaces. So criticism had been fairly low on average. But the biggest criticism I get is why do you speak in English?
If you're comfortable speaking in English, why not?
No, the idea behind is that our story of Karachi is so much untold.
Yeah.
And the foreigners telling us for us.
Yeah. We should be telling our
story to the global space and network, right? I was like, if content can do anything, it should reach everyone. So my perspective was not to educate people of Karachi. Karachi people already know.
No, they know their issues. They know their problems.
They know they are they're good spaces to eat. Everybody has their own ecosystem of eating, consumption, everything else. But I was like, I want to see if we could take this into a Google map in space. And it did really work because most of the time, whenever I've done cultural items specifically, there's so much positive attention we get from the West and India because they're like, how are minorities surviving in Karachi? What do you mean? Yeah. And that's the kind of conversations we get. So that's the idea of speaking in English so that the West or anybody else who sees Pakistan or Karachi, we may have a broken infrastructure, but our mindsets are quite evolved. We're not regressing. We're people who have done so much, and you just try us out in the potential that we have. And that's the idea around it. I was in London and I was, there was a fan who was in Google. She was a funnel buyer. And that story had inspired so many women out there that they could, regardless of whatever, they could be working at the biggest corporates in the world if that is their dream.
Yeah.
And still be able to carry their own faith and values, right?
Yeah.
We could still show how wearing a hijab does not mean being aggressive. It means
it's very personal.
It's very personal. It's progressive. You could conquer the world per se by having faith. And I think that's the idea of speaking in English mostly. But it's also a bit detrimental because I do see if I speak in Urdu more, it would result in higher engagement from the local audiences. So now I try to keep it a balance. But that's my biggest criticism. The others are just now the more it gets a bit sensual there. So it takes it to another direction, which of course makes things attention is great, but then it becomes a bit illogical.
Okay. Osama, if I were to ask you of a meme that defines Osama, which one would it be?
Um, I actually do this one a lot. Have you seen that Alia Bhatt one where she goes like, "मुझे अपने घर जाना है." I when I see an event where I feel like I just want to go home now. I will have to अपने घर जाना है. That's the meme I would say. I'm just too. Yeah, that I
But do you actually do it?
I try to pace things up. I'm like, you know what? How can we get out of here as soon as possible?
Okay.
Because like you come to some places and then you're like, this is not what we expect this to be. And then I'm trying to really hoping that there's someone up there who I know and I can just go through this together.
Yeah.
Otherwise, I'm just telling my team, you know what? And also when it comes because we're shooting and sometimes the scorching heat, कुछ भी हो रहा है बस पर we're there.
Yeah.
The time I remember I've never been interior cell. This is the most I did there. And we're in Mohenjo-daro in the peak of heat. Like this is June.
Yeah.
And
It's terrible at that time.
I'm not shooting. like मुझे अपने घर जाना है. मैं क्यों आया हूँ? Mohenjo-daro.
I feel that often. Okay. So is there a secret propaganda that you secretly agree with and that you haven't admitted to?
I think although I don't agree, but I do agree, is the hustle culture is needed.
Is needed?
Yeah.
How so?
I think when I look through, I feel like when you really are, when you really want to make a difference and an impact, then you have to go beyond what you are doing and outside, which means, like when I look at my journey, I feel like I did have to sacrifice a lot of my time, although at a big cost of personal and mental health.
Mm.
But I do feel like it generated.
Here's our coffee.
Yes.
Oh, wow.
Where do you want yours, sir?
Here. Thank you so much, guys. It takes a lot out of us to do a podcast. We need the coffee.
You need the coffee. You want to go taste this now.
Okay. Make sure it's not too hot.
No, mine is cold.
Oh, yours is cold. Yeah, I'm not going to have it yet.
Nice.
Is that okay? All right.
I have to go through this. Go through this conversation.
Okay.
So I think the hustle culture, while it has been badly painted, you require to hustle to get somewhere. To a certain. So secretly I do agree. Now, but on top of it, I feel like, of course, if it's getting too much, one should definitely step out.
Yeah.
I think, but nowadays people need to have to push.
Okay, now there are more and more people getting into content creation, some very badly, some do it very well. What are the red flags of content creation that you have tried to avoid, that others should also try and avoid?
I don't think there's a term for it, but sometimes I look at stories of creators, like a very serious, tragic story. And the next story, they'll be like dancing and applying makeup. I'm like, there has to be some pause to that, right?
Yeah, you can't just flip.
It just flips. And while I truly, support that they are raising a voice for a certain issue, but then the next story is just something so different that, then it just doesn't show that there was maybe just tired of stories to build onto that when you're resharing something. And as opposed to, even if you're doing something of a common item, like, get ready with me and stuff for both men and women, just maybe talk about that and that. Because that flip, then something just really, I was just enjoying this and then suddenly there's like this case and then,
Yeah.
That, and I think, a red flag would be, I think nowadays, because I also don't blame people or creation, is the way the platform has now evolved into, you have to play the trick.
Okay.
There is a hook. If people don't watch it beyond 3 seconds, then you are producing a disastrous reel. So if you don't get reach, then you're like, oh, what is all this for, right?
Yeah.
So
You want people to enjoy
and I think more investment is now being done on the hook versus on the content itself.
Oh.
More brain rot content reaches more. I look at brain.com, I'm like, maybe I don't have to even step outside my house to do it. I could produce 10, 15 videos all day. Can that reach? Which I think there's all sorts of content consumption. So not necessarily what I'm doing is the best way or the right way. There is a market for brain rot, and I think I'm the biggest consumer of it too because I don't want to watch my content when I'm going to sleep.
Of course.
I want to watch
Somebody else.
somebody else's brain rot content, which is just like share.
Right.
So I think it works in both ways. Maybe my content is like a daytime consumption, It's like with your coffee, like, oh, what do I do today? Something along those lines.
Right. Okay. So one final question, which you might find a bit odd, but my content writer has decided this is a question you should be asked, which is, so pitch, partner, and pass. So if you had to rank Qazi Akbar, Bilal, listen, Qazi Akbar, Sabah Banu Malik, and Bilal Hassan, who would you like to pitch to out of these three? Who would you like to partner with? And who would you just like to
there's a
ignore totally? Or not do anything with? Not ignore it.
I see them, most of them, too often to
Say anything and not get yourself into trouble.
I think first I would partner with Bilal. I think easiest collaborations, best work we've done together. So let's just get that sorted. So
Okay.
one is gone. And of course, I'm always, most of the time when I'm in DHA and in trouble, I take solace in his house. So I still need that to be there. One day when I move, I feel that. So Bilal, I think 100%. We've worked very well together, and there are times when we're doing something. He writes it. There's not a lot of back and forth because somehow we're always on the same wavelength. But the tricky part is with me now. What do you mean by pitch? Like I have to pitch for an idea or something?
Yeah,
Right?
yeah. Or something you want to do and you pitch to just
I
try.
would say I would pitch Qazi and Sabah.
Okay.
I think because Qazi and myself, we never got to work together. I think we've just seen so many times, and I think that items and these are very cool way of sharing ideas, and sometimes they're beyond me. I don't really understand a lot of
Yes,
this, but
I don't either because
like-
he's very intellectual.
he's quite intellectual, so maybe that could be something new to explore. While Sabah, I think she is such a great comedian. I tell her to do stand-up all the time. So I'm not that funny. So she will perhaps overshadow me. So which is why I'll have to pass her.
Okay, nicely done. You are very smart.
So sorry, Sabah, but you're too good. So.
That's great. It's been wonderful talking to you, Sama, and we have to do that 1 hour of
Yeah,
that.
it's a time we call episode.
We have to end it because people say that, already your podcasts are very long. My team says.
I scanned it with a K, so
It's Candid with a K. And, I talk to people who have so much to share. It would be a shame to cut them off and say, no, we
100%.
can just talk about this and talk in 1 minute or talk about a story that is so interesting, but you have to finish it in 30 seconds.
that's what I'm saying. The algorithms have just sucked the fun out of
Yeah, it has.
this.
But I find that the following has increased. People want to listen to longer conversations. They may want to put it away till the weekend or sometime when they just totally relax and they just want to focus on it. They won't do it like every first thing in the morning. They won't come in and say, hey, I've got to watch this podcast before I get to work.
On that only, I think just one podcast that when I'm super bored at home and I have like the ones, I try to avoid going out on a Friday night because traffic and stuff.
Yeah.
So what do? I still want to have like a feeling that I am in a conversation. So I watched this. It's called Triple Double podcast or something. It's by Akbar Chaudhary and Ali Gulpir, and they have Abdullah.
Both. Ali Gulfir is so funny.
And then there's Abdullah and one more person. And they talk was random as things, and first I was like, okay, let me just watch it. But it's a when you get into it, then I watch it and I have food or whatever. Like I become a regular follower. Out of the podcasts I thought I'll probably enjoy would be the intellectual ones or listening to some CEO. I actually like this more. It's funny. It's so random. It just has all the right players.
What is it called?
I think Triple Double podcast.
Okay, I must
So
look out for
you
it.
write Akbar Chaudhary good podcast, you'll find it. I think it's super fun.
That's great. Okay, then. Thanks for your time.
Thanks.
It's been great. I know that you're busy going from one place to another. So thanks for taking the time to come here and hang out and have a conversation with me. And we must do that second podcast.
100%.
All right. Bye, Osamah.
Bye bye. Thank you.